Hi, I'm Charlie Roberts.
And I'm Kate Zaleski. Welcome to the guest list. We are thrilled today to be joined by our dear friend, really friend to all, Katie Gorman, our Vice President of Corporate Affairs. Katie, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. I told you both this is my first time on a podcast because, of course, it is. When would I have been on a podcast? But it's just a dream. It's a dream.
We're excited to be your first time. I know you're an avid podcast listener and participator yourself.
Yes.
As I know Katie likes to call into her favorite podcasts and submit questions and comments.
That's right.
So we're joined here by Katie, as we said. Katie leads the strategy and execution of Delaware North's corporate giving program. So we're really excited to have this conversation. It's one of the most deeply ingrained values at Delaware North, I believe, is giving to our communities. So looking forward to a good conversation with you about why it is that we do it and how it looks across the company. Great.
Katie, thanks for being here. Your career, I think, has spanned a few different sectors, both here in Buffalo and elsewhere. Why don't you walk our viewers through a little bit of your career journey to this point?
Sure. So I'm a Western New York native. Grew up in the town of Tonawanda. It's a very Buffalo thing. You know this, Charlie, to ask people, where'd you go to high school? Because that's how Buffalo is. Kenmore West High School. Went to UB for undergrad, studied Spanish literature, but then also political science. Kind of got the political bug, moved to Albany, New York, started working for Senator Schumer in his Albany regional office, and then went down to D.C. to work in his legislative office. Had the chance to come back to Buffalo to do federal government relations for the University of Buffalo, so back to my alma mater. And then 11 years ago, came over to Delaware North.
Amazing.
But even at Delaware North, you haven't strictly focused on corporate giving. So even in your 11 years here, what has your career seen you do?
That's right. When I started here, it was 2015. We were still in the old building. I remember I started right before we moved, and so there wasn't even like a reason to give me permanent desk space because everyone was packing up. Like Charlie's and Glenn's offices were all like packed up in boxes. And Mr. Jacobs, our chairman, had just stepped back from day-to-day running the company as CEO and named his sons, Jerry, Lou, Charlie, CEOs. And so my job was an early form of executive communications. I like to say like a very crude form of what Kate has professionalized now. And it was really
An overstatement, but go ahead.
It was working closely with our comms team, so Charlie, Glenn, helping them with talking points, helping them kind of figure out who is really like the voice of what at Delaware North. And it was a ton of fun, and we had our 100th anniversary celebration, and that was a huge opportunity to do a lot of marketing of the company and just, we did all kinds of crazy stuff for the 100th anniversary. And so it was a great way to like jump in, learn the company really quickly. Mr. Jacobs at that time was like on tour, winning every award from every industry group around the country. And so we had a lot of speeches, and it all really culminated in Hockey Hall of Fame induction.
So suffice to say, your favorite role was obviously as an extension of the comms team, or maybe the most fun role.
Not to put you on the spot.
No comment. Every role I've had, I've learned a ton, and I've had a ton of fun.
Yeah, you've gone on to do some pretty amazing things.
So speaking of your roles, so we'll shift a little bit into what you do now and have been doing really for the last at least 5 years of your time here, really dedicated in building what I think is a best-in-class corporate giving program. But let's start really high level, right? Top of the funnel, and pretty simple way to say it, but why? Why is it so important at Delaware North that we are so deeply involved and invested in our communities?
Sure. Well, I will appropriately pause to take a sip of water from my Feed More Western New York water bottle, one of our nonprofit partners.
Today's podcast sponsored by Feed More.
So I love the why question because that was a question that our chairman asked when he took over the company. So, and Charlie, you've been here for a long time. You know this history in and out and have written about it extensively. But Mr. Jacobs was 28 years old. His dad died very suddenly, 1968, and he had to take over the whole company, chairman and CEO. And he has said that he did not have, his father was his mentor, so he had to really go out and seek new mentors in the business community. So not only in the industry, and people like Art Wertz from Chicago were very good to him, but then also within Buffalo, finding people who could just help him figure out, like, how do you grow and make this business successful. And one of the things that he learned was that there was a real value to investing in your community. He has said his dad was so focused on building the business that he didn't really have the thought about giving back to the community. But as the business matured, Mr. Jacobs understood that, we're headquartered in Buffalo. It's really part of our responsibility to help make Buffalo a great place. It's how we attract talent. It's how we help our current team members thrive and be happy in their communities. So he really adopted this idea of we should be giving back to Buffalo. And the earliest nonprofit partnerships that Delaware North formed were with the United Way of Buffalo and Erie County and with the University of Buffalo, which was his alma mater. And then when the CEOs stepped into their roles, they've really grown our corporate philanthropy and community impact into a whole new, bigger thing that's, indicative of the growth of Delaware North.
Yeah, as I said, it's one of those deeply ingrained values at Delaware North, and obviously the way those values dovetail directly with the Jacobs family values, I think is very apparent across the organization and very inherent to the way I think team members and leaders here show up in their roles, right? Because just thinking of the sheer number of leaders across the organization who spend their time on boards, whether that's here in Buffalo or in other areas of the country where we do business.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will always play an outsized role in giving in Buffalo because that's our hometown. Mm-hmm. And our CEOs feel very strongly, and I know their contemporaries feel, that a company really has to invest in its headquartered hometown because that's what headquarters are for. But it's been really exciting to see how we've continued and grown community impact in other ways than just direct financial investments in other parts of not just the U.S., but really our operations all over the world.
Yeah, but build on that a little bit. Like, how does our giving take form, both here in Buffalo and elsewhere?
Sure. So every nonprofit will tell you they love cash. Direct financial investment is very helpful, and so we do a lot of direct giving in Buffalo. I think last year we donated over $5 million to local nonprofits. And we have some really big, longstanding partners. The United Way is an example. It's kind of a cool example because we also do an employee pledge drive. And our colleagues at Kennedy Space Center do something similar for their United Way in their county. But then we also make a corporate gift, and then the Jacobses give personally. We have multi-year $1 million plus commitments with Feed More Western New York, our food bank, with Say Yes Buffalo, which supports Buffalo public school students, and some other great organizations. Beyond just cash giving, in Buffalo and really all over the place, we do a lot of giving of our team members' time and talent. Mm-hmm. So whether it's volunteerism, so Charlie, you've spent every Earth Day for the last how many years planting trees in our Buffalo Olmsted parks or pulling invasive weeds. Kate, you've hit the pavement for our Meals on Wheels corporate route in Buffalo. So things like that. And we do that all over the place. We just got a great photo of our colleagues in Daytona Beach who did a beach cleanup.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's so cool because it's great to see how team members come together. It's fun, it's team building, it's directly giving back to our communities. So there's volunteerism. Another way we give of our time and talent is we do a lot of in-kind donations because we're a hospitality company. So donating food, beverage, service, facility space, that's a really cool way that we give back. And I think about in Australia, and I would love to go to one of these events sometimes, but Mindle Beach is a really beautiful special venue in the Northern Territories. And so nonprofit organizations there like to use Mindle Beach to host their big annual fundraising galas. And then our team members do, a beautiful job and share their time, and, we donate food and beverage, good stuff like that.
Great. As you were kind of talking about the way all of our giving takes shape, you talked about employee volunteerism, calling out Charlie for pulling invasive weeds for the last at least 5 years that I've known you every Earth Day.
beautiful April weather in Buffalo, New York.
I mean, Earth Day in Buffalo, New York, it can either be very sunny and a beautiful 65, or more often it seems 40 degrees.
It's
and raining.
historically
Yes.
40 and rain.
Cold and drizzly.
As Katie said, our team members here in Buffalo spend their time in the Olmsted Parks. That is one of the, I think, nonprofits where I said this to Katie last week. I feel like Olmsted is one of those nonprofits where we are all in, whether it is cash donations, employees, volunteering, leaders sitting on their board. And so just last week, under Katie's strategy leadership, we announced a major gift to the Buffalo Olmsted Parks Conservancy. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and maybe a little behind the scenes on how a gift like that comes about?
Yep. That one is really exciting because that is a gift to the organization's endowment campaign.
And it's $1 million. I don't think I don't think I said that.
$1 million.
$1 million.
So I'll come back to the importance of the endowment. But Olmsted Parks. So Buffalo, for those of you listening who live here or who have visited, is really fortunate. We have a beautiful network of parks designed by renowned landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted. I could not name another landscape architect. Don't ask me to, but I know he is a really big deal. And
Also designed
he
Central
did
Park.
Central Park. He did the Emerald Necklace Conservancy in Boston, and I do want to come back to Boston. Caring for a big park system is very expensive because you have to think about things like facilities upkeep, and you have to plant trees, and you have to pull weeds, and you have to cut the grass. There's a lot of labor that goes into it. So Delaware North has a particular affection for our Olmsted Parks, really coming from Mrs. Jacobs, so our chairman's wonderful wife. She and Mr. Jacobs actually live on a residence that is designed by Frederick Law Olmsted. Very few residential properties that he's designed, but they had the opportunity to purchase one in the 1970s, and she has put her heart and soul into renovating it to Olmsted's standards. She pulled his original designs. She was planting the native trees, all of it. And so it's just wonderful. And she really helped her children, our CEOs, it's funny to think of them as children, love nature because they obviously grew up there. They spent a ton of time with her outside, hiking. They're a very active family. And so they developed this love of the park. So it's this, there's a trend of it gets handed down. And so we have partnered with Olmsted Parks for many years, going back to before I worked here. Around the time I started, we donated some money to help the parks eradicate the emerald ash borer, which was eating the ash trees. And, we would help them with if they needed a new pickup truck or if they needed some new tools. We've spent a lot of sweat equity volunteering on Earth Days, sponsoring their gala, things that are not insignificant, but that are one-off contributions over the years. And so we were really excited. They came to us last year to say they wanted to create an endowment fund. So I won't get too technical, but if you don't know how an endowment works, it's basically money that goes into a fund that builds and builds and builds, and in perpetuity, the fund spins off enough money to help pay for things like operations. And so Olmsted, under their current leadership, has the foresight to know that we can kill ourselves to fundraise every year, but let's do a really big push to do a really big fundraising effort, build this endowment, and then that will just help pay for the parks for years and years to come. And we were really excited that we, really our CEOs, decided to be the seed funders for that endowment. So we donated their first $1 million, and they're off and running and fundraising, and we know they're going to be tremendously successful. And it's just great to see leadership that looks that far ahead. And it feels good to know that we work for leaders who also want to look that far ahead.
I agree. And I think for me as a Buffalonian, I think something that was so special, understanding that we were going to do this is, and not to steal Jerry's words, but Jerry said this last week at the announcement, the parks are for everyone, right? Like we are so lucky, so fortunate in Buffalo to have a Frederick Law Olmsted designed park system. It is a gem in our region and something that makes Buffalo very special, but it's also a resource that everyone in our region is able to use and benefit from, no matter where you are or where you're from, right? So just this open public resource for everyone to enjoy together. And knowing that we're going to be involved in helping them to sustainably maintain those, I think that was really special.
Yeah, yeah. And
That's incredible.
the connection I want to make to Boston, just because I don't want to forget this, Boston also has this wonderful network of parks, Emerald Necklace Conservancy. And so a few years ago on Earth Day, we did a big volunteer outing. I got the chance to go join our team at TD Garden. It was a lot of fun. But
Didn't you get stung by a bee?
I did not get stung by a bee. Someone else did get stung by a bee. They have since recovered. It was a traumatic experience.
I remember that was like one of the
yes,
biggest stories.
it was really-
Not only was it a wonderful team building experience and everybody had a great time and, really dedicated our time into these beautiful parks in Boston, but man, that bee sting story,
Yes.
I remember that
It
being
was
very
multiple
traumatic.
bees. It was anyway. Boston is another really cool example because it's really Delaware North's other home. And in Boston, we have, really under the leadership of Charlie Jacobs, the Boston Bruins Foundation, which I don't have all the numbers of other sports teams' foundations in front of me, but I'm very confident in saying that the Bruins Foundation is one of the most impactful foundations associated with a professional sports team across any of the major leagues. It's just incredible what they do, because if you think about it, the Boston Bruins reach is all throughout New England. So it's a big geography, a lot of diversity of needs in that area. And so it's really cool to kind of learn from this Bruins Foundation, which has been operational, I don't know how long, but for maybe since the 90s or anyway.
At least 25 years.
They do a ton of really creative, cool, impactful things. And so I've learned a lot from Bob Sweeney, the executive director, and just how we can be creative about our giving.
Cool.
Speaking of cool and creative, the country is currently celebrating its 250th anniversary. And Katie, you are leading an initiative called 250 Acts of Service.
That's right.
Walk us through that a little bit.
So I was in a couple of meetings where people were talking about different marketing opportunities around the 250th anniversary of the United States. And I thought, like, 250, that's such like a fun kind of round number. 250 volunteer projects, 250 acts of service. Like, why can't we also extend that marketing opportunity to the way that we impact our communities? And so we made the decision that 250 in a calendar year is ambitious, but we made the decision we were going to tally up individual acts of service from our team members, both group outings. So, if your team at, I'll use Daytona Beach, they went out, they cleaned up a beach. That is a wonderful act of service. But then also we know our team members are doing incredible things in their communities on their own time. And I think of Kate, because you had just volunteered at the Girls on the Run. And so I logged your act of service. You didn't even have to send it to me. But we do
Happy to
have
contribute.
an open call to all of our team members. If you're doing something big or small in your community, you could be volunteering at your local animal shelter. You could be doing a food drive, anything. Send an email to myself or my wonderful colleague, Kate Del Gobo. We would love to put you on our list. We'd love a photo if you have a photo. And we know we're going to get to 250 by the end of the year.
Oh, I'm confident we will, because I loved when you brought this idea forth, because we know how much our team members across the world love to volunteer. And I love that this is a way for us to really kind of put some rigor and structure around, okay, tell us what you're doing, and being able to log that. So I really, and we've been featuring them in 360. So I really look forward to those updates when we see like what people are doing, both organized through, employment here at Delaware North, and like you said, what people are doing on their own time.
Yeah, I think it's super important to note that it doesn't have to be limited to, the company and it's giving.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Katie, we don't want to take up any more of your time. We've been so grateful for you telling us everything about what you do and some of the history behind why we do it. We can't let you go without a couple bonus round questions, which typically have nothing to do with anything as part of the conversation. And so as we started this conversation, we did identify that you are an avid podcast listener.
Yes.
And, as I said, participator.
That's right.
So why don't you just share with our audience, what would you say is your favorite podcast?
Sure. My favorite podcast. I love podcasts that cover a few different topics. I love pop culture. I love recaps of Bravo television shows. I started listening to those before I even watched the actual Bravo television shows. I was listening to the recaps, and that's how I got into the shows. My favorite podcast is called Who Weekly, and it is a twice weekly podcast. These two very funny hosts, they used to write for Gawker Media, and they talk about B, C, even D-list celebrities, and it's just recapping what's going on and celebrity gossip for the less popular celebrities. And there is a, you can call in and ask a question on the pod, and, you know, they answer the questions that they can. And so I've called in many times. I've been featured twice, which is exciting. And
That's a rush.
It's a rush. It is a ruch
Because you don't know you're going to be featured,
well,
right?
you read the episode recap before you listen, and you see your question in there, and you know that, like, oh my gosh, they're going to talk about the 90s pop girl group Bewitched, because I know I'm the only person who called in to talk about that. So it's just great. I love podcasts.
Excellent.
All of this primed you really well for today's appearance, I would say.
Clearly.
That's right.
I wish somebody could call in and ask you a question and see how you would respond.
That's the next evolution of this podcast.
That really is.
Right?
That's true.
That's what we'll do next.
That's a great idea.
Live calls.
I love that.
So, Katie, you and I lived in the same North Buffalo neighborhood for many years. So I would run into you, out of office hours. As we film this podcast, it is in the high 80s here in Buffalo, believe it or not, to folks around the world. Katie, Buffalo's best ice cream is what?
Well, please note, when Charlie says he would run into me, he literally means Charlie would be out for a run, and I would be sitting somewhere eating ice cream. And this was our dynamic after hours
This tracks
many times over.
This is so.
And to
both
the
of
point
you.
that my
Yep.
husband would be like, there's Charlie going for a run again, making us look bad.
While the two of you are sitting eating
We're
ice cream.
sitting and eating ice cream at
love
various
this for
ice cream
everyone involved.
places.
I think I've also run into you with my daughter in bringing her out for ice cream, though,
Sure.
in fairness.
Sure. But like you guys would walk
Yeah.
there. We would drive ourselves.
In case you can't pick up on this, Charlie's a health nut.
Charlie is a fitness person. So there's two ways to answer this question. One is favorite custard, soft serve. That's Anderson's. That's really, if you grew up in the North Towns, Anderson's very close to your heart. Favorite hard ice cream, I would have to say Lake Effect. They currently have a cookie butter ice cream that is very special. I'm hoping it's not limited edition. I'm hoping it's permanent on the menu. I've obviousand written them direct Instagram messages asking that they keep it on the menu. So that's my favorite hard ice cream. And on a sugar cone.
Okay.
Waffle cone is too much cone.
Do you eat ice cream?
I don't.
Oh, for crying out loud. Okay, we're going to end it
What's
there.
your favorite ice cream, Kate?
In Western New York?
Yeah.
Oh, so like you, I don't think I can pick a favorite. My family, Wednesday nights are the only nights in our household that there's not some youth sport activity taking place, whether it's a practice or a game. And so I've been intentionally making my family go out for ice cream every Wednesday night. And so our goal this summer is to just hit a different scoop shop every week.
Love that.
So last week we went tried and true with Anderson's, and they had this lemon cream custard that really was to die for. So that was the most recent wonderful cone of ice cream or custard that I've had.
Okay,
but
will
I can't
say,
pick a favorite.
So as not to be left out, you saying youth sports reminds me. So when I was a kid, I ate ice cream, obviously. And so after youth baseball, you're bringing back a memory for me, a core memory. Mint tingling ice cream at Lou Gehrig was my go-to
Ooh.
as a youngster.
That's
So there you go.
Okay, slightly redeemed yourself.
Okay.
Katie, thank you again for your time, for all of your insights, ice cream
pleasure.
podcasts, giving, otherwise.
All the
Thank you all
things.
for joining us on the guest list, and we'll catch you on the next one.